Hello, everyone. Good evening. Good morning. We are the Two Unholy Healers. I'm Colleen O'Brien. This is Keryn Lee. And we are so pleased that you are here to join us for another episode. What episode are we on now? I have lost count.
Is it 4?
It can't be 4. I think it's more than that.
Is it?
It might be 5.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I probably should have known the answer to that before I asked. Like, that was not
Maybe
too clever of me.
Anyway, it's one of our episodes.
Yeah, so welcome back. Or if you're just discovering us, welcome to your first episode with us. Please do make sure you like our Facebook page so that you get updates as to when we are going to go live, or you can catch the replays of our previous episodes. And you could even put in the comments how many episodes we actually have. And
yes, if you have any idea, even if we don't, that would be great.
Yes. So I see we've already got 2 people watching us live. So hello. Be sure to say hi to us in the comments. We love that you guys come and take the time to watch us while we are broadcasting live. Thank you so much for being a part of our audience and for being such a contribution to our show.
Yeah, and thank you so much. Hello, everyone. We got 3 on now. Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you for being here, guys. We really just want to say thank you and acknowledge that you take the time to show up and add your energy to this broadcast. Please feel free to ask questions and share any comments and thoughts as you go along, because we love to hear from you. And that was really one of the things behind us doing this, was to get that conversation happening. And what is it that you guys want to know about? Where are the areas that you're stuck? And we would love to share our thoughts and ideas on all of that. For today, however, we are looking at behind the scenes of professional healing, really just some ideas about things that Colleen and I do prior to clients, after classes, and clients. And this conversation came up when we were talking about pricing sessions and that sort of thing one day. And just the acknowledgement that when you are energetically working with someone in an hour or an hour and a half session, that's not all that is going on. And so when people come in and say, oh, this costs too much, or how do you justify that sort of pricing, etc., all they're seeing is that 1 hour or that snippet of time. So as healers, we have to prepare ourselves far beyond that session to actually be in that space to show up and do our best work. And that is going to be our topic for today.
Yes, very well said. Well, like any profession, right? There's a lot of training and preparation that goes into even being able to open your doors, or, put up your shingle to say, hey, I'm a healer. I'm ready to take clients. I'm ready to teach students, which I think everybody sort of understands, right? They forget like what happens just immediately leading up to their session or their class, right? Because they only really see that hour, that interaction with you, or those few days of the class with you. They don't know what it is that you're doing behind the scenes before they show up, right? So, and when you're a healer, when you're running kind of a small operation, like you're the crew, you're the director, you're the makeup artist, you're the lighting person. Like, you have to really do it all as an entrepreneur. But you've got to remember that you're a small business person. Yes, you're a healer, but this is a business. And part of that business is to make sure that the space and the energy is its best in order to put your best foot forward and have that best experience for you as the healer, as well as you as the client or that student. So, I primarily do most of my work online. But, we'll also talk about, the preparation that goes into, preparing a physical space when you are going to meet somebody in person as well, because that is, that's kind of a little bit easier to think of, I think. Because, somebody's like going to actually be here, like to prepare that. Like if you have a guest, like you tidy up, sort of certain things like that. But in terms of a healing, what energetically has to go on. And that is pretty much the same, whether it's a physical appointment or a virtual appointment.
Absolutely. And I know, I'll speak to the physical space because I have the healing studio. So I'm working with people online, but also actually in person. So what I've found, and this goes back to when I was working at home and even before I was having clients, what I found was when I just had the sudden urge to go pick up the vacuum or the broom or something and start cleaning the house, especially the front porch or the floors, then I'd be sort of like, a couple of minutes into it and I'd be like, oh, we're having visitors. And like that was my indication energetically that I was clearing the space for these visitors to arrive. So it was I always knew in advance when people were coming. So in a way, it kind of is similar to when I'm at the studio and I'm clearing the space. So that might mean sweeping the floor or tidying up in the kitchen or preparing the massage table or whatever it is. But that is all part of energetically preparing the space for those clients. So that's the physical side of it. But then, as we were saying earlier, Colleen, it's also about your energy and how you show up. If you're feeling off or you're having a bad day or you're just really not feeling it, it's actually kinder to you and your client to say, hey, I'm not doing so well today, or I need to reschedule or whatever, because your job as the practitioner is to show up 100% ready to facilitate a person in the highest and best way. And especially if you're really congruent with your pricing and you're charging, a reasonable amount for your sessions, you need to be able to, or the person that you're working with needs to be able to feel that they're getting their results for that. And I think also that you as an authentic healer need to feel that you have given your best for that person as well. So, there's the physical aspect and then there's the energetic aspect.
And I think that's a really important point, right? To be able to know yourself well enough and have the courage to actually reschedule an appointment if you aren't going to be able to put your best foot forward and be there as the healer for your client. And it's not, because so often in this society, it's like, nope, you got to push through it. You got to move forward, especially if like you've got stuff set up like I do, like paid you in advance, right? It's like they're already expecting it. Or, some of that fear and lack can come in like, oh my God, if I cancel this, like it's going to affect my bottom line. Like, how am I going to pay? It's ultimately being able to say no.
Yeah.
Because it's just a short, you don't want to have, you want to have that long-term vision, right? So if in the short term, pushing through it and having a lousy session for you and your client because you are not really feeling up to it, it's just such a short-term thing. Whereas the long-term, your clients will respect you for, being able to give them that notice and be like, hey, you know what? Like, because life happens and we're human as well. And as much as we take care of ourselves, and it's rare that we've, done it, but I know both you and I have had conversations like every now and again, it's like, yeah. And know that when you hear that from one of us or anybody else that I know that we're associated with who do work in integrity, when we have to call a client and say, hey, we're going to have to reschedule, know that we're not just doing it because we just don't feel like it or we got a better offer or some stupid reason. It's a legitimate thing. And we're really doing it out of love and care for ourselves, but also for our clients.
Exactly. And I've found sometimes that when you do that, the client often has something going on as well. And they'll be like, oh, I'm so glad because, this and this and this. And it's like it works out really well. And I think the other thing it comes back to when we're talking about boundaries in our last podcast, I used to think that you can't have a sick healer. Like, this is going to look bad if I say, hey, I'm not well today. And so I would put so much pressure on myself to just kind of step up and do the session. But what I've realized over time is, like you just said, Colleen, it is so much kinder to yourself to say, hey, I got some shit going on today and I'm going to deal with that before I actually support, someone else. So, it is that level of honesty. Like you said, we are human. We do have our own stuff come up. And I think our clients understand that. It was really just me being hard on myself at the time,
Yeah, and that's such a great point, right? Like nothing happens in a vacuum. And it is
Yeah.
so funny when, your canceling is actually exactly what the client had been praying for, right? When they have that
Yeah.
sense of relief
Yeah.
because, you're like, oh, I've been torturing myself. Like, oh, should I do it? Should I not do it? I've been working on myself. Like, am I going to be well enough? And then when you finally say, no, like, this is the way it's got to be. And then they're like, oh, thank God. That's exactly what I wanted to happen.
Yeah, exactly. So here's another layer to this as well is, in regards to the self-care and the preparation before a session. So I know some healers who might spend 15, 20 minutes or so before the session begins, like sort of preparing, tuning into the client, etc., before they come. I personally don't do that. Like I might take just a minute just to kind of collect myself and center and just sort of get in the zone. But I don't spend time before the session generally, because I find especially not tuning into someone, because I've found that when I've done that in the past, I get this whole boof of energy, and then I got to sit with that until the client gets there. And it's like, no, we're not doing that again.
I'm not on the clock yet.
Not on the clock yet. And I don't want to sit in your shit for the next 20 minutes until we get to clear this. So it's like, let's just wait till they show up and then we'll do the work. And yeah, so I've had a couple of funny experiences where I've just tuned in and gone, oh man, this is intense. And then like quick, send it back, wait till you get here sort of thing. So, I learned, but I do know people that will spend 15, 20 minutes, and that's part of the preparation, is to do their tuning in beforehand. So how do you work with that, Colleen?
I generally don't tune in to my client or my student either. What I really do is, and this was a tip that I got very early on when I had starting my healing career, was that I do a session on myself and I specifically ask, what is it I need to work on in myself in preparation for this session with this client, right?
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Because law of attraction's in action all the time. And so it's not uncommon. I'm sure you've had this, and other people who are watching have had this when they've worked on other people, even in classes when they worked on people, right? That similar issues come up. And whenever I can be proactive so that I don't get triggered by the client stuff while I'm in the session, because it's also my stuff, then I can clear it for me in advance. And then I'm able to hold that space much more confidently and lovingly for the client when it comes up for them. Yeah. And it also gives me a great deal of confidence too, because it's like, oh, girlfriend or, boyfriend or whoever I'm working for. It's like, you know what? Like, I've been through this too. I know exactly where you are. Like, we're going to get through this because I've already been on the other side of it. Like, let's get through this together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also, even if you have a space where you haven't had the time to do that or whatever, and you still show up for that session, and something that's coming up for the client and is like, oh my God, are you listening to this? You need to hear this sort of thing. I think also part of being a professional healer is being able to just set that aside, do the facilitation with your client, and then pick that up later. Because I know there was one time, and this was a pretty extreme situation, I won't go into all the details, but I was doing a session with someone and just took on this mass of energy, and there was some reasons behind all of that which I had to later clear. But this energy was intense, and I felt this hot flush go through my whole body, and I just kind of went sort of into shock for a minute. I was on the phone, like, what do I do with this? And it's like, you know what? You just have to put that aside and actually deal with your client and then clear that later. So that was a kind of extreme situation, but it really highlighted to me that, no, I'm here for the client. It really doesn't matter what's happening for me at the moment. I need to take care of, I was in the middle of facilitating her through something. And if my energy was in a space where I was dumb enough to take something like that on, well, you just got to sit with that for a minute, put it to the side. And you can put it to the side. No matter what you're going through, you can actually just go acknowledge it, put it to the side. I'll come back to that later. And in my case, I actually phoned a friend. So it was the middle of the night for me when I just realized that I was having a bit of trouble shifting this. Like, Colleen. So luckily it was morning for her, and she helped me shift that energy. So yeah, you definitely need to have a few friends on your side as well that can help facilitate you when you do some stupid stuff.
Yeah, I do. And I do remember that. And I was like, oh, this is where we make the time difference work for us. Like, this is great. Like,
yeah, exactly. Because I'm thinking, oh, you know what? I think she might even be awake at this time. I hope she didn't go to work today.
Yeah, it was when I had that part-time job, and I didn't. I was like, you know what? I took the day off. I'm here. Like, I was still in my pajamas. Perfect. You were in your pajamas. I was in my pajamas. It was so much fun. Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So you know, this is what we were saying before. We're not perfect. You know, generally we don't take energy on. Generally, you know, we don't have these situations, but sometimes they do happen. I had stuff to learn from that. I had to do probably a couple of weeks worth of healing and clearing energy on stuff that came up in that session, not necessarily because she triggered me, but because there were issues just within me that needed to be addressed. That I guess you know, it did sort of it did bring those energies up. So it wasn't directly related to what she was going through, but it was directly related to me being in that fix, heal, save mode and just taking on too much of her stuff. So yeah, it happens.
Yeah, well, and I think it speaks too of your really being willing to be vulnerable as a healer, to be that open, right? Because every situation is an opportunity to heal, but a lot of us don't really acknowledge that, right? And you could, like you said, you could have put that aside and then just not come back to it. Like we as humans are really good at putting stuff away and hiding it and just not acknowledging stuff, and you know, could do it for lifetimes. We're that powerful for some of us.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know, it's a great, and it really speaks to your commitment to working on yourself as well. So bravo for doing that. We have a comment from Tyson that just popped up. If you don't mind let's share it. Let's show it here. Yeah. So how do you manage triggers during a session? Great question. Say if you get triggered by a client, or if a client really gets triggered by you. Yeah. So funny. I was kind of intuitively going to go into this too, because there are sometimes I work with clients and I'm like, why does this person make me so angry? You know, like you're supposed to unconditionally love your clients. I shouldn't even say supposed to, but you know, it's that energy. Like, you know, you're not going to get healed by my yelling. You know, it's kind of like, you know, when somebody goes like, you should stop eating so much junk food. That's why you're so miserable. Like that's not going to help them. That's not what they're going to do. So Keryn, do you have any kind of tips and tricks?
I do. So in terms of when you're getting triggered through a session, just like we were just talking about, put it to the side. I tend to find that maybe it's just because I've been doing this for a long time and done a lot of work on myself. I don't tend to get, you know, someone triggering me that's making me sort of go into a space where I can't facilitate properly, or you know, I want to argue with them or something like that. I generally don't get that sort of thing happen. It's more about they've brought up an energy within me that I actually need to deal with, and I can put that aside and deal with that later. But in terms of triggering a client, that's really funny, because there have been times when you know, I've kind of pushed people a little bit, kind of dug in a little bit, and then had that moment as they're reacting to, oops, did I go too far? And it's, I mean, I do kind of push sometimes in my sessions. I mean, as a facilitator, we need to do that, because if you can see that, not all the time, but if you can see that your client is in a space where they're not, they're avoiding going where they need to go, or there's something coming up for them, and there is that tendency to back down from it, or I won't back down. And I know Colleen,
and I could say like Keryn does not back down. I am remembering a particular session we had, it probably was a little over a year ago at this point, about people wearing masks or not wearing masks. And, you know, I was so angry, and I'm like, I know it's not about the masks. And you were, I kept trying to veer off topic and get to something else, or just be like, yeah, okay, we've got far enough. Like, maybe I'm good. And you just kept at it. You were this very steady, you know, guide to be like, nope, like, let's come back here. You know, like I was like a dog on a leash. You're like, nope, not over there. Let's come back here. Let's get back on course. And as angry as I got, again, I wasn't angry at you personally, but I definitely had a lot of emotion about the topic and the situation, that you just allowed me to almost be that sounding board for you. And Tyson, I think sometimes you've just got to do that. You've just got to be the receiver. You've got to be the one that listens to that person, that hears them, that acknowledges that, like, yeah, you're having an emotion, and I just happen to be the face, the body that you're aiming it at. But Keryn's unbelievable at I still remember that session. Oh my God. And I'm like, why are you even putting up with me? I was just like, I can't believe you haven't hung up on me. You're never going to talk to me again. I am being such a bitch. Like, oh my God.
Well, like I said, I this was one of the instances where I did have that moment of, oops, did I go too far? But just as I had that thought, that's when the energy shifted as well, and everything just started to clear. So that was great. But also, Tyson, one of the things that I do in that situation when things are kind of getting intense and someone is being triggered is really lower my barriers. Like, so really just kind of let go and expand out, because when you do that, you're not contracted, you're not resisting what is happening with the person. You're actually just in like this space where you're willing to just be there, just to be. And that is what actually helps to create the change for them. So we've had a few laughs together in sessions we've done on each other, Tyson. So you'll probably hear more about them as time goes on.
I'm sure it's one of the advantages of us doing this show is that we've worked together for over 2 years now. Keryn and I met in Australia for the Theta Healing Instructors courses in January of 2019, and every month since then we have made a commitment to meet with each other and swap sessions. So we work with each other, we work on each other. And we often do keep in touch in between those times too. So I would really highly recommend, find somebody that you resonate with, that you trust, that can be your partner in developing yourself as well. And we've also, often bought sessions from one another too. That's kind of outside of that realm of just swapping. So, and I've gone to her classes. I've gone to your, most recently that, what was the name of it? It was all about money.
The Secret Language of Money.
Yes. That was amazing. That is available on your website now as a demand, like, you can get the recording, so highly recommend that. That was so much fun. And you can see me being goofy in the video too, I'm sure. Talking about my funny American money.
Yes, and also I've done classes with you. What did I do? Dig Deeper, I think.
Dig Deeper and you and Creator.
That's right. Yeah. So we do a lot of stuff together, and we teach each other, we facilitate each other, we chat with each other, we hang out. In fact, before we do these podcasts, we chat for like 45 minutes before we even get on, and we talk like about every couple of weeks when we do these things. But oh my God, like we just talk all the time. How do we have so much to say all the time? I don't know, but it's super fun. And I would also like to share that I have Colleen's book, Reasons You Are Not a Better Healer. It literally arrived in the post yesterday. And I just really want to recommend this for if you are a healer and you want to clear some of those deeper beliefs. This is not a book where you're going to get reams of information. This is a book that really focuses on the belief systems, and do your muscle testing, dive in. And I've been doing this a long time. I've had quite a few beliefs that were in here that needed to be changed. What I really liked about it was, you go through and you test all the different beliefs, and then at the end she gives you these suggested affirmations. And I wondered, if I just clear these, is that going to change all the beliefs? And so far it has been. I'm about halfway through the book, and so just by downloading those beliefs, or if you're not a theta healer and you're just doing your affirmations or EFT or whatever it is you do, just working on them, I've found, will shift all of those other beliefs. So let us know how you go with that. If you're finding that's not happening or that is happening, that's what I've found. So yeah, we'd love to hear how that's going as well.
Brilliant. Thank you. And I just wanted to add the answer
Thanks,
to this.
Janine.
Oh yeah. Thank you, Janine. Yes, thank you so much for being here. Yes, it's so much fun. But I did want to address also, Tyson, about when a client gets really triggered, one of the things that I kind of get really excited when they get really triggered. And some people who work with me, like if I get really triggered, like if I start to cry, like some people, like if they freak out, they're like, oh my God, am I going to get slapped? Like, you're crying, I don't know what to do. And then I switch really quick. I was like, oh, good. Oh, yay. Like I get like a little kid, because I'm like, that means we're on to something. Like we're really close.
Yes.
And so I will remind the client, I'm like, this is great. Like, this is temporary. Like, we are going to be able to get on the other side of this really, really quickly. So I remind them it's a great sign that they're getting triggered. And often, if it's a theta healing session, I'll be like, let's download that you're safe. It's safe to look at this. If there's any trauma that needs to be released, we just ask for that to be cleared and healed, so that they can, remove the energetic charge around whatever you're working on, so that you can actually see what's underneath of that. So yeah, I love when people get triggered. Not that I'm intentionally going out to get people triggered, right? Because there is a little bit of trauma in that. And we don't really need to be working on it in that sort of layer of drama. But I tend to celebrate when a trigger happens.
Absolutely. And this is, that you've brought this up, this is a good example that happened in a class once. And it was a very small class, and there was a lady who was a teacher, theta healer, instructor, and one of her students had come in and they were doing the class together. They'd asked for this, class together. So when the student hit on some stuff with her teacher, and she kind of got triggered and went into some deep stuff, she pulled back. She kind of energetically pulled back. She got a little bit intimidated by the fact that she'd triggered her teacher, but also just not having the experience to know how to deal with that. And I was there to sort of help facilitate that and help her move through that. But I said to her later, no, that's not when you pull back. That's when you move forward, because it means that you've actually tapped onto something that is ready to shift. And if you pull back, and I think her fear was, I don't want to upset her. And it's like, well, you're not upsetting her. You're actually facilitating her. So you need to actually step into that energy with her. So, yeah. And that's the fun. That's the really cool part. When you see them get to that stage, and then the energy shifts. So
right. Because that's the reward, is when you not only you feel that energy shift.
Colleen has frozen.
But there's when they end it.
You just froze then. I don't know if that happened on video or just my computer.
Yeah, you just froze for me too. So
did I?
Yes.
Awesome. So if you missed what Colleen said, just download it and you'll be right.
Well, I'll repeat it. I will say that the real reward of leaning into those triggers when you trigger a client, when you're in a session, is that shift. You get to not only feel that energy shift as a practitioner, or if you're the client, you definitely feel it, but there is a physical difference. Like the appearance, if you notice, they will appear differently from when they looked before the session started, and particularly when they were triggered, and then once that energy is shifted, has changed. And that is one of the advantages of doing it in person or doing it on video, that you can see that. Although if you are kind of get that deer in headlights, like, oh, look like Keryn described earlier in her experience, then it's to your advantage. Like, thank God that was a phone session. Like, you know, like, even if it's just that little, like, like, you know, the client will pick that up and see like, oh, what did I do? Did I do something wrong?
And that's it. And then they may feel that it's their fault. And this is what I had to be really careful of, that I didn't say anything to her about that, because I didn't want her to think, oh, that's my fault, she took on my energy. No, honey, that's my fault. You know, that was my stuff. And interestingly, there was stuff that I had to clear, some vows and oaths, etc., related to this lady, because in some past life I decided that it was my job to heal her, blah 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 blah, as we do. So sometimes that comes up with clients. If you have little things coming up that are you know, causing an imbalance in the relationship, definitely look for those vows and oaths, and, you know, anywhere that you feel that you have an obligation to heal them, or anything like that, because that can really imbalance the relationship as well.
Yeah. And when you find, particularly if you're finding a pattern with one particular client or with a particular type of client, that's a big clue. But also, you know, love yourself enough to call in for help, right? Like sometimes it's really easy to hide from yourself. So being able to have like another party who can objectively look at this for you, who isn't really invested in the outcome, right? Like they want you to heal, but they don't have to make you wrong or make you look at something that, you know, you've had some experience with. They're just really there to facilitate and allow you the space to heal yourself. So don't be afraid when you're working on yourself. Don't be afraid to call in another healer to allow yourself to just be the client.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're just about coming towards the end here, Colleen. It
seems like our talks just stretch longer and longer. We just have too much fun. I think we should probably wrap up. Not only because we've talked for over 30 minutes at this point, but there's a thunderstorm rolling in where I am, and so if I lose power or internet, that's going to be a really ignoble way to end the show.
It would. So let's quickly, if there's anything that you want to share, I just want to mention to people that the final stages of my book are underway at the moment. So I'm hoping by the next podcast it will be either out, or I will have details about the actual release date. So it's very, very close. The second thing is I have a class called The Real Reason You Take on Other People's Energy. We're going to be diving into this whole thing. There's far more to it than what you think. And I'm really keen to sort of share that with people, because I think, especially if you're a healer, you need to know this stuff. If you're an empath, if you are or you think you're sensitive to energy, there is a lot going on behind the scenes. So check out this class. You'll have to go to my website for the date, because I have not set the date yet, but it's coming up in the next month, so keep an eye out for that one. We also have Colleen,
I just put up Keryn's website, since you had mentioned go to her website. And you know, if you're following this thread, we will add a comment onto this thread, so you'll be notified through Facebook when those dates are actually published. But Keryn is amazing. I've read an advanced copy of the book, so I'm really, really looking forward to it.
Just saw the cover this morning. I only just got the cover back from the printers, so she's the first one to see that as well. So
yes, and I think so much of this show, of this broadcast, is a result of the momentum of that book as well. So I'm really excited that that's going to be coming out in the world. So
have you got anything coming up, Colleen? Anything you want to share about?
I do. For those of you who are theta healers, I have a practice group about divine timing coming up before our next show. I think it's July 11th. It's on my website, but it is a weekend day, and then of course I have some other theta healing certification classes coming up as well, which again you can also check on my website for. And again, I will plug the book if you haven't already gotten Reasons You Are a Better Healer. You can do that through Amazon or Book Depository. Both of them, have the book available for you. So that's what I've got going on. So thank you for letting me talk about that. And then I think most of you who are watching are already on our mailing list. So thank you so much. If you haven't already picked up your copy of How to Break the Curse of the Poor Healer from several episodes ago, if you haven't picked up that PDF gift, you can go to this URL. It's a short link, so it's if the address bar changes to something different than you typed in from this, do not panic. That is how it is designed. It's not a phishing scam or anything like that. But yeah, we just go to unholyhealers.com/PDF gift, and then you can join our mailing list so that you can get reminders of when we're going to broadcast again. And then you can also download that PDF that has some tips, has some practical things you can do right away to start to change your financial reality, because there's like I want to say there's a pandemic of poor healers out there. Only nice. It doesn't need to be that way. It's totally preventable. It's totally healable. So let's be, enjoy the wealth, not just monetary wealth, but wealth of well-being, and help each other rise up to do that. So that's part of what the gift is in the information in that PDF. So
Thank you so much to everyone for joining us. Catherine, Janine, Tyson, for your comments, and everyone else for being here. We really appreciate it. And we will be back again in 2 weeks, same bat time, same bat channel. And our topic is
differentiating between friends and clients.
Yes.
Because not all of your clients are your friends, and definitely not all of your friends are your clients.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Stephen.
Yes. Thank you, Stephen. It's great to see you here. Thank you, Catherine. Good to see you here too. I'm excited. Catherine has ordered her book, so I'm excited to see when that will come for you as well. So yes. So thank you all for being here. It's been lovely. We love the interaction with everyone, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.
Bye.